Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing fantastically well. It's Connor here, and we are back with a transfer video. We've not done one of these in a while, have we? I hope you've all had a fantastic Christmas, and I hope you're all going to have a brilliant new year. It's not the same, is it? It's not the same. Being able to do all these brilliant things around Christmas, it's been a little bit drab. It has. But listen, you got to make the most of it, haven't you? So I hope you've all had a good one. Listen, we're here to talk about transfers. Why are we talking about transfers? Because Leeds United are 11 days away from competing, hopefully, in the transfer window. And what I've been doing is diving through the archives of the McGilligan Intelligence Head Unit and been trying to find out, players who I think Leeds United could target and players who, if we are to be an ambitious club in the future, to have a long-term project in the future of getting into Europe, of getting into, wherever Radrizzani has said, copying the Leicester model, whatever it may be, Leeds United have to have these long-term views on players. And I think this list is molded as well with Bielsa in or Bielsa not being here. I think the model that Leeds United are going to go down whenever Bielsa does decide to leave Leeds United, whether or not it be next season, whether or not it be the season after, these signings are going to be long term because you would hope that Leeds are going to go and get a manager with similar values, a similar ethos, a similar way of playing, albeit having little different tendencies in there as well. So that's what I base this model on. It's not just a copy and paste from articles, which frustrates the life out of me. I know that was what sort of the room mill was based on, speaking about targets that were linked and stuff like that. But I think there's got to be more effort put into videos. Shout out to KG as well for coming up with Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Well done, KG. He's gone now. So listen, I'm going to go more continent-based players, but there are targets out there that we've spoken about on the debrief weeks and weeks ago. Which you might want to go figure out and look at as well. But to start off with, guys, I'm going to discuss a striker. Now, the reason I think Leeds United desire a striker at this moment in time is because I still don't think Joe Gelhardt in Bielsa's mind is sort of anywhere near Patrick Bamford when Patrick Bamford is fit, which is fair enough. Gelhardt is to learn off Patrick Bamford, then we will see what happens. But I think an out-and-out challenger for Patrick Bamford is definitely what Leeds United need for that, that striker jersey, if you will. Someone to push Patrick all the way if Patrick isn't on form. That secondary striker who still Joseph Gelhardt can learn from, and someone who still is really, really competitive in and around our lead number 9. I think when Bamford's been out, he started 5 games this season. Leeds need someone who can step up in terms of goals, in terms of assists, in terms of everything, in terms of productivity, in terms of a target man, in terms of someone who can lead from the front in terms of a press. And this individual does that, for the German under-21 side. He does this for his club team in Mainz, and it is Jonathan BURKART. Now, not Gelhardt, everyone, but Jonathan BURKART. I think this guy is absolutely fantastic. I've mentioned him on the room mill a couple of years ago as well when he was a prodigy coming through. You guys know I'm an absolute football nerd when it comes to indexes, and I've been watching this guy for a fair few years. He's been making his breakthrough club level. He's a young lad, born in Berlin. And he's definitely someone who Leeds could target, in my opinion. I think it's someone who, valuation-wise, is going to be from the sort of 12 to 15 million standpoint, which a lot of you guys might think is a hefty investment. But obviously, we know nowadays that can be paid in installments. That can be done in different ways, like we saw with Helder Costa. And obviously, if Leeds are to move players on, as Radrizzani said in his Forbes interview, that means that Leeds can bring players in of a very, very good value. So Jonathan BURKART is definitely someone I would look at, playing for Mainz, the German youth setup as well. He's absolutely firing everybody for Mainz. He's driving them into 9th place this season. He's got 2 assists. He's got 7 goals in 17 appearances. And the thing that I like about BURKART is the fact, as I've said before, he's versatile. He can play anywhere around the front line. Obviously, Leeds like to sometimes go into a 3 up front as well. You see that stylistically as we go into the pivot as well. It's not just the standardized 4-1-4-1 formation or the 3-3-1-3 formation. Leeds United do push into these different variants throughout the game, and you will see Leeds counter-attack with the front 3. BURKART can play anywhere around the striker role, the central attacking midfield role. He can play left, he can play right. He's bags full of energy, you know, only a young lad as well. And this is what I was talking about in terms of the project, the future. Even if Marcelo Bielsa isn't here in a year's time, guys, we have to talk about it. Leeds are going to have to start future-proofing as well. BURKART would fit into any manager's future plans, and I think that is absolutely vital. So my first name on the sheet is going to be Jonathan BURKART. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see Leeds go and get him. Whether or not we can, it's probably the most unrealistic on the list, and that's why I wanted to speak about it at the start, because it is going to take a lot. But I think if Leeds United are able to do it, they need to do it in January, because I think in the summer month there could be a real bidding war for him. Now, the second individual I wanted to speak about is someone who I've kept tabs on for a while as well. I was going to talk about McAtee at Manchester City, but I don't think in the Premier League setup he's had enough minutes, and I think that will definitely affect him coming into a Leeds United side where he's going to get a lot of minutes in the central attacking midfield role or the central midfield role. So I've gone for someone who has had Premier League minutes, and I've gone for someone who reminds me a lot of when Phil Foden first started, and for me could have certainly gone on, could have certainly had a loan move. Phil Foden, 100%. Guardiola wanted to keep him around the first team setup. And this player is very, very similar, but I think I've spoken to a lot of City fans around this individual when prepping for this video, and they feel like he should have a loan spell out. And I think it would be an incredible signing for Leeds United. He's a technician in the midfield. He can do anything in midfield. He can play in the 6, he can play in the 8, he can play in the 10. And he's someone who Leeds United, you know, that key word, as I always talk about, versatility. They're able to deploy him in different roles. But in that number 10 role, his productivity, his output, which is what we talk about a lot with Tyler Roberts, which I don't think he's got enough of. This individual, for me, has a lot of it. You see it in the under-23 setup. You've seen it with the youth setup with his national side as well. It is Cole Palmer. I think Cole Palmer would be a really, really good addition to this Leeds United setup. He embraces the press as well, being part of a Pep Guardiola setup. As I've said to you guys before, his output is very, very good. And for him to fit in to this Leeds United setup, very, very similarly to what Billy Gilmour has done with Norwich in terms of him moving from Chelsea, them trusting him in the process. I think when you look at loan players, the key thing about loan players is having a vision of that loan player being able to fit in your side long term. And with Pep Guardiola, he knows the style of football that Marcelo Bielsa plays. And I don't think we've explored that market enough. Obviously, we've had Jack Harrison there, but I don't think we've explored that market enough with Manchester City. We've got a really, really good link there. And I think Cole Palmer would be able to slot into this Leeds United setup very, very nicely. If Guardiola is willing to let him go, I think a destination like Ellen Road would be absolutely perfect for his development and perfect as well for Manchester City's long-term plan. But in the 6-month period where Leeds United have to stay in the Premier League, they simply have to stay in the Premier League, I think Cole Palmer would be a really, really nice addition to Leeds United. Now, the next position I wanted to speak about as well was the left-back role. Now, why, Connor? We've got Junior Firpo there. It's not like I'm not 100% convinced on Junior Firpo. Just as a caveat, I'm not at the minute. I think he's improving, he's developing, 25 years of age. But Marcelo Bielsa has always harked on about having 2 players for every position. Left back, we don't. Leif Davis is on loan. I can't imagine he's going to be coming back. Leo Kjelder, who's a centre-back, has been deployed as a left-back in the under-23s, but he's injured. We've seen Liam McCarron as a midfielder in the under-23s as well, deployed as a left-back in sort of this manipulation of positions that Marcelo Bielsa loves to utilise, even in around the under-23s. You know, we saw Niall Huggins obviously leave. So I don't think Leeds United have a second player in that position. Now, someone of LUCA his capabilities would be absolutely perfect. Now, the Borussia Mönchengladbach left back has been getting plaudits all over the Bundesliga this season. Another one who is born in Berlin. And listen, he's only 18 years of age. He's tearing it up in the Bundesliga. He looks like a real prodigy. And this is something that I spoke about at the start with Jonathan BURKART. It's the Bundesliga. It's a really good league to apply your trade. It's physical, it's athletic, it's very, very competitive. And NETZ is doing that at the top of his trade at the minute. And I would really like to see him within this Leeds United setup, pushing Junior Firpo the whole way. He can play in a very, very pressy system. We see that with Borussia Mönchengladbach. But what I love about him as well, it's his versatility. In the centre-back role, he can play left, he can play right, which is an incredible sort of string to your bow when you're only 18 years of age. You can play on the right as well. Naturally a standardized left back, but can play left wing back as well, which I think is what Leeds United have really missed. With the start of Junior Firpo's development, I think we've not been able to get the balance right with Junior when it comes to defence and attack. I think NETZ has already got that in his bag at 18 years of age, which is seriously impressive. Now, I'm not saying bin off Junior Firpo, I'm not, but 2 players for every position, everybody. This is what we're told. This is what we're told is the way forward. And this is how the system, the small squad system works with Marcelo Bielsa. So why not have a class talent in LUCA NETZ coming in and being able to fit into this system? He said he wants to play in the Premier League as well in his career. This could be the perfect move for him. The question with all these signings are they going to want to come to Leeds United to play in a relegation battle? Well, the caveat to that is if these players are able to come in, if we are able to get players of this quality, then will Leeds United be in a relegation battle? The answer is probably no. And this is depth with quality, something that Leeds United haven't had. We've always had depth, but it's for me, it's always relied on the under-23s and players not getting injured. LUCA NETZ has got a very, very good injury record as well. Something that I've wanted to talk about as well with a lot of these signings that I would love Leeds United to bring in. Their injury record is good. It is good. You know, they play in Pressy systems as well, or they have played in Pressy systems, or they've been around these systems in terms of the national setup as well. So I think these are all factors that you need to take into account when looking at these players. Another one who I wanted to look at was Luke Thomas at Leicester. Now, I'd have really liked Luke Thomas. I don't think that this will happen with the injury of Ryan Bertrand. In this Leicester setup, we've seen Luke Thomas play last night against Liverpool. I thought he was really, really good. But that left wing-back role, if you want someone to compare someone like a LUCA NETZ to, he's very, very similar in terms of ability to Luke Thomas. I think he'd have been a brilliant addition for Leeds United. Whether or not we could get that done in the summer when Ryan Bertrand is fit and ready, I don't know. But he's definitely someone to keep an eye on. Now, guys, the gold. I've got 2 goal positions at the end as well for Leeds United to look at. Whether or not they're going to do it or not, I doubt it. But these are my targets. I think it's really important as well to go and do your own research, to go and really look at where you think Leeds United need to improve with these videos. Not just look at articles, not just do that, and do copy and paste jobs from what other people say. But I think to go and do your own research is key because, you've got your opinion on what you think Leeds United want. And that is key in talking about transfer targets, because otherwise you're just not going to be convinced and be able to talk about these acquisitions that you think Leeds United should make. My next one is available, in my opinion. He's played barely any minutes in the Premier League. He's someone for me who's a hybrid of Samuel Saiz and Pablo Hernandez. He's someone who is from the same nation as Marcelo Bielsa, has spoken about Marcelo Bielsa before, plays in a Pressy system in the Premier League at this moment in time. As I've said, his valuation for me is acceptable. Probably we'd get him for around 8 to 12, 13 million when I've been doing a little bit of hunting around valuations. It's an unusual one, but somewhat he's someone who I think you guys would agree on. It's ALEXIS McAllister. Now, ALEXIS McAllister has been, anytime he's played against Leeds United, he's been absolutely fantastic. Left, right foot, whatever. He can play on the right-hand side. He can play on the left-hand side of a front four. But what I do love about ALEXIS McAllister is it's his productivity in the central attacking space. For me, this guy, at only 23 years old, could be the mainstay at Leeds United for the next 10 years. He is extremely, extremely similar to Pablo Hernandez in terms of being able to drop deep and get and get his team on the counter-attack, which is what he does with Trossard. He does it with Welbeck. He does it with Mbeupu. He's very, very good at that, ALEXIS McAllister. And he reminds me, as I've said at the start, he's a bit of a hybrid between Saiz and Pablo Hernandez. He's not getting enough minutes for Brighton at the minute, and it will be so interesting if Leeds United were to go forward with a bid of around 12 to 15 million, whether or not Brighton would accept for this one. I think you'd be very surprised in the market that we're in at the minute, where clubs I think they're going to be okay to sell on players with everything that's gone on in the past 2 years. I think someone like ALEXIS McAllister, who's on the fringes at Brighton, I think it's more than accessible. This isn't a Ben White scenario. I think ALEXIS McAllister will be looking to play football, regular football. And for me, in that central attacking midfield space, we spoke before about Cole Palmer. He's the youth option in that central attacking midfield space. I would personally go and get 2 midfielders. A Cole Palmer and an ALEXIS McAllister would be absolutely fantastic. They're quite similar. I would probably veer more towards Cole Palmer as an 8, an industrious 8, and McAllister as a flamboyant, technical number 10. But, you know, I mean, two brilliant acquisitions there. And yeah, someone like Alexis McAllister would definitely be someone who I would look at. Another one for me, guys. This is who we spoke about. This guy we spoke about last year, I think 2 years ago on the Room Mill, actually. Ibrahim Sangare. Now, Sangare has been applying his trade at PSV. And by God, we were speaking about him a couple of years ago, been maybe 4 or 5 million. Leeds been able to get a snip. This guy's value has definitely rose to 8 or 9 million. But I love the Eredivisie, the Dutch league, in terms of value for money. There have been so many great acquisitions all over Europe from the Dutch league. And I think Sangare could be one of those to the Premier League. Once again, Leeds United have the allure, the Premier League status. We're not so much in a relegation battle at the minute that Sangare is going to look at Leeds and think, nah. But he's doing his numbers this season, guys, are absolutely superb. Leeds United have deployed a double pivot. Sangare is a central defensive midfielder. If Leeds are to employ a double pivot going forward, Calvin Phillips and Sangare would be unbelievable, and Adam Forshaw off the bench to give us that required depth. But Sangare is a destroyer, very, very similar to Samare at Leicester. But for me, his productivity is so good. Very, very young, only 24, an Ivorian international, and for me, someone who Leeds United really could look at in the January window. We could put installments in there for him. I'm not going to talk about the specifics of transfer dealings and all this sort of stuff because we're all know-it-alls when it comes to that. But that's up to Leeds United. But the recruitment team, identifying someone like Sangare would be perfect right now. We always talk, as I said at the start, about Leeds deploying a 4-1-4-1. But for me, in-game, Leeds do look to have a double pivot in many games. A double pivot there where the two screen the back four. And as I said, guys, we all talk about long-term. This is what I want to talk about on this episode. It's about long-term. Long-term Sangare, whoever comes in the next 2 or 3 years, Leeds United-wise, in terms of managerial appointment, even with Bielsa there, but whoever comes in 2 or 3 years is going to utilise NETZ, is going to utilise BURKARDT, is going to utilise Sangare. All these players are going to be utilised because of their ability. So, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'll be fascinated to hear what you think. I hope I've done a bit of research for this video. I've been scathing and looking at all the targets that I think Leeds United should go for. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, guys. Have a good one. And